Das war's. Kann ich dir nicht sagen. Ja.
Io ho poco da pensare, io devo solo da sapere quale prezzo lo paghiamo.
Vas-y.
Vas-y, putain, j'en ai marre des gens qui me regardent.
C'est pas vrai, il bouge les yeux.
service are made from the control room at Piccadilly Circus. At present, the Maple line is running with minor delays due to an earlier faulty train at Baker Street northbound. Central line has part closure, no service between Greenwich and Newbury Park, due to getting work. Minor delays on the rest of the line due to an earlier obstruction on the track at Wellington Arch, and full train service on all other lines.
This is the control of Westminster Square. The central line has to be delayed, which includes the railway on the track. There's a good service on the Piccadilly and Northern lines. The good service on all other underground and overground lines at the airport.
Ladies and gentlemen, next southbound Broadway train will station Warden and Rodrigo, station in case of any Ladies and gentlemen, please have passengers off as I before boarding. This is Leicester Square, change here for the Piccadilly line. Please use all available doors and all available space. Please move down inside the cars. The southbound train, Whitehall station. This train is now ready to depart. Please mind the closing doors. Find out the
the front doors to leave the train. This station is Charing Cross. Change here for Bakerloo Line and Main Line Suburban Rail services. This train terminates at Morden. The next station is Embankment. This station is Embankment. Change here for Bakerloo.
soir, c'est chaque fois dîner. Chaque soir. Août.
Away on towards a very exclusive shopping district of London called Knightsbridge, coming up very soon. Harrods Department Store. We're going to see, as we drive through London, we're going to see lots of lovely royal parks. Here's the first one on the left. This is Green Park, very famous corner of Hyde Park on the left. Not much going on tonight. If you come back on Sundays, you'll see loads of people here. This is Speaker's Corner. You might have heard of it. Now, since the 1870s, this is basically the area of London where people can congregate and they voice any opinion without fear of arrest here. So you've got freedom of speech, you can say any old rubbish you want. And then they try and grab the bodies of the dissectionists and the families, a little memento. How lovely. Anyway, horrific really. Straight ahead of us, on the right tonight, straight ahead of us is Oxford Street, the premier shopping street in London. Not as classy as Knightsbridge, a bit lower class, but this is the busiest street in London, certainly. And it's also the best place for shoes. There's over 40 shoe stores in Oxford Street, wonderful place. Now also, as you see the Royal Albert Hall, if you look on the other side, on the right, you're going to see this golden statue. This is the Albert Memorial, a memorial to Prince Albert, who was Queen Victoria's beloved husband, who died in 1861 of typhus, and so Queen Victoria had this memorial erected to him. And in fact, for 40 years she was a widow, so she died 40 years later, in the very early 20th century. It's a beautiful building. looks more like a church than a museum, but you'll see it very soon as we swing left. And this is the Natural History Museum. Now this was built in the 1850s, and this is a museum dedicated to the earth sciences, botany, zoology, biology. The Charles Darwin Centre is a new addition in there. Over 70 million specimens being collected in there. Many of the original specimens from HMS Beagle, Darwin's voyage, collected here. And it's also famous for its dinosaur exhibit, so it's a great place for children. Dinosaurs on the ground floor, there's enormous dinosaurs. There we are, the Natural History Museum on your left. What a skating rink, that's oh, there you go. Which will take us very soon to Harrods department store. Can't really miss it. It's a big gaudy building with all the lights outside. Like a big Christmas tree coming up on the right very soon. Now, as well as being the most expensive department store in London, easily, it's also the biggest, most historic. This was first built by a guy called Henry Charles Harrods, who opened his first grocery store in the 1850s, and has now grown, as I said, to be the biggest in London, certainly. Now also, if you're a fan of useless trivia, then I'll let you know that the first ever escalator in the world was installed in Harrods in the 1890s, late Victorian period. And now, unfortunately, the first Victorian ladies and gentlemen who climbed up the escalator the first time, they were so terrified by the whole experience that they had to have a man stationed on top to give them a brandy to calm their nerves. True story. Not so much anymore. Also, we saw the French embassy just a second ago, but we also have lots of other embassies here. One that we don't quite see is just behind this huge building, Harrods. Just on the right here is the Ecuadorian embassy, which is very much in the news at the moment, because a certain guy called Julian Assange has been living there for the last 4 or 5 months. Well, not quite living there, trapped there, actually. That's ongoing. Unfortunately, a huge fire destroyed this whole site, Harrods, again in the late Victorian period, so all rebuilt. Famous for its food hall on the ground floor, got food from all over the world. And also, as you probably know, Mohammed Al Fayed owned this for many, many decades. Sold it not so long ago for about £1 billion, so made a good profit on this. And you'll see the lovely window displays. Here's Harrods department store on the right. A 5-star hotel on the left called the Mandarin Oriental. The flags outside, and they're very beautifully tailored doorman outside. This is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Mahatma Gandhi's hotel of choice when we visited London quite often. But on we go, we're heading up to the busiest roundabout in London. It's called Hyde Park Corner. We'll see very soon. No war, as they call it, London. Strange reason. On the right, Kingwood Memorial. And also coming up on the left is a memorial to all of the Commonwealth countries. You see these cream pillars. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, they're all written on the Duke of Wellington Arch, our most famous general's memorial. The guy who defeated Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo. Sorry about that. Long time ago. So this is Park Lane. We're going to head down the end of Park Lane. Lots of very exclusive hotels coming up very soon. Actually, on the right, just behind this big Christmas tree, coming up here on the right, it's probably one of the most famous hotels in the world. It's called the Dorchester. This was built 80 years ago to attract all the Hollywood stars to London, which it did very successfully. The late great Elizabeth Taylor, 2 honeymoons there, at different times, obviously. Once to Richard Burton. So also, if you're into musicals, 2 very popular musicals happening around the corner by Victoria Station. Billy Elliot and Wicked are playing to packed audiences around here. Now this is Victoria Street. This is possibly the most boring street in London. So there we go. So there is a saving grace of Victoria Street. Have a look on the right, you'll see the main Roman Catholic church in London. It's a beautiful church, Westminster Cathedral. Have a look at this. My driver Paul is slowing down to give you a nice shot of that. This is the key Roman Catholic church in London. So the Royal Church coming up on the right, Westminster Abbey. Also, this is of course where many of our great scientists, philosophers, statesmen are buried. We've got Charles Dickens' grave, Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton, Geoffrey Chaucer, Ben Jonson, you name it. It's a wonderful place to visit if you're into architecture and history. On the right, Westminster Abbey. Historical building in London. Now the original abbey goes back to the early 11th century, Edward the Confessor, before the Normans came along and occupied us. And it's called the Royal Church because basically all of our monarchs have been crowned there, every single one of them, apart from one. Her name was Lady Jane Grey, and she was crowned in the Tower of London, and about a week later had her head cut off. She was 17 years old, murdered by her sister. And also on the left is one of the great US presidents, Abraham Lincoln's statue. Is there? So that's it, mostly Victorian leaders. But one character you'll definitely recognise is the last statue on the right, opposite Parliament, Winston Churchill statue, Second World War leader. There it is. Now, here we are. This is the House of Commons and the House of Lords on the right, the centre of government. And of course, Big Ben. Now, this was all built in the 1850s because a huge fire destroyed the whole site in the 1830s, so all rebuilt. And of course, if you know about the gunpowder plot, which we remember on the 5th of November, this is where it was staged. This is where the gunpowder plot took place underneath this site. Guy Fawkes trying to blow up, kill the king, but he couldn't quite get away with it. Now we have a little stop here, but if you look behind you, you'll see the best views of the House of Parliament and Big Ben, which is the bell inside the tower. It's now called Queen Elizabeth Tower after current Queen, recently changed the name of the tower. So just chill out for a few minutes because we do have our last scheduled stop, so we're going to be here for a few minutes and then we're going to make our way on towards the ancient part of London coming up. Very good. Now get ready on the left. Paul's going to slow down for a wonderful shot. The best shot you'll see of Big Ben framed together with the London Eye. It's a fantastic shot, honestly. Here he comes on the left. Also, you've got loads of these buildings built for the Festival of Britain. Thank you, Paul. I think everyone's got that. Now keep your cameras out and your phones out because you'll see some wonderful shots as we cross over Waterloo Bridge. And as you probably know, London is actually a tale of two cities in one. On the left is a newer part of London. This is called the city of Westminster. The city of government, politics, culture, entertainment, monarchy, all of that stuff on your left. About 1,000 years old, the city of Westminster, the newer part. But we're heading to the right. Have a look in the distance, you can see the ghostly image of St Paul's. And that is the ancient part of London coming up now. And there's been a religious site on that site, of course, since way back to the Romans. Remember, the Romans were the last of the people to really establish London, 1843, almost 2,000 years ago. And they had their own religious site on that specific site back in the 2nd century. Also on the right, this building goes back over 400 years. This is Somerset House, it used to be Somerset Palace, which was Queen Elizabeth's palace, Queen Elizabeth I, that is. Virgin Queen. And it's also the home of the Inland Revenue, which is not so good. And that's the exact site of what was Sweeney Todd's barber shop. I'm sure you've heard of Sweeney Todd. Now most people believe he's a myth. He wasn't a myth, he was our most prolific serial killer. Murdered 80 victims, we believe, in his barber chair. And then his wife made pies out of the flesh. People came far and wide to taste the pie, it's very popular. On a similar subject, on the left is McDonald's, and also on the left is the oldest pub in the world, the Old Cheshire Cheese. We believe the oldest pub in the world. Charles Dickens used to drink there, and many others. Still a very popular pub. This, by the way, is Fleet Street. This was the centre of journalism originally. The journalists have all gone now. The first ever newspaper in the world, daily newspaper, published here, eventually called. Straight ahead of us is the most impressive church in London, certainly. This is St Paul's Cathedral. This took 35 years to build, this enormous church. And this is the replacement to the church that burned down in the Great Fire of London. 87 out of 100 churches destroyed in the Great Fire, 1666. So here we are, St Paul's Cathedral. Of course, this is also where Princess Diana was married. We're going to cross over London Bridge, which is coming up. It's our next bridge coming up. It's not falling down. Now, have a look on the left. One of the highlights, definitely, this is Tower Bridge that everyone knows and loves. Tower Bridge on your left. Finished in the late 1890s, the late Victorian Bridge, Tower Bridge, much older than this one. And if we're lucky, we're going to cross over Tower Bridge. You might even see it open. It opens a few times a day. I'll drive a pause, slowing down to give you a nice shot of this. Make sure you get a great shot there. And also, if you look, surely look to your left, you'll see this enormous, almost finished skyscraper jutting up into the sky there. On your left, this is the Shard, designed by an Italian architect. Will be the tallest skyscraper in Europe when it's finished in a few months. At the moment, the tallest skyscraper is on your right. You see a pyramid-type building, also very famous. This is Canary Wharf down there, in the new financial centre of London, or district of London. And it's not so far away from Stratford and the Olympic Village in the east of London. Now, coming up on your left is a building I'd certainly recommend visiting if you're into history at all, but this is the original Norman castle. It's actually the only castle remaining in London. This was built in the 1070s, so remember the Normans from northern France came and invaded us in 1066, and they built all of these castles in Britain to really intimidate the local population, because they were heavily outnumbered, that's why. So the original castle will be the four inner turrets you see in the middle. These are called the White Towers. The rest was built a bit later, or over subsequent generations, but it's been here since the 1070s, incredibly. And also, I guess it's most famous as an execution site. This is where, for example, there's a whole list, but two of Henry VIII's wives murdered here. Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, both had their heads chopped off inside the ground. Walter Raleigh, you name it. But it's also, I guess, most famous. This is where, for hundreds of years, we've had we keep the crown jewels guarded by the famous beef feeders there, stationed in the tower. So we're going to cross underneath Blackfriars Bridge. We're coming back onto the Embankment, onto the Thames. On the left, the world record holder, the biggest observation wheel in the world, 135 metres high, known as the London Eye, of course. We also had to make the Millennium Wheel because it was built specifically for the Millennium celebrations in 1999. It has 32 pods. No, it was designed just to last for a couple of years. We've kept it ever since. Very popular. This is Northumberland Avenue. We're heading on to Trafalgar Square, the memorial of Admiral Nelson. You're going to see Nelson's column on the right soon. Our most famous admiral. Defeated the French and Spanish in the Battle of Trafalgar in the early 19th century. Anyway, he's staring down to Portsmouth, not to Southampton, but the statue of Nelson at the top there, staring down to the south coast where his flagship is still in Portsmouth. It's very close though, isn't it? Very close though. Everything's original. The most romantic meeting spot in London is on the right, certainly. This is the statue of Eros. You see lots of people under here. Our version of Times Square, basically. In a nutshell. The famous neon signs of Piccadilly Circus straight ahead. But do watch your pockets, by the way. A lot of pockets here.